Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. Week 16. We are here. We are in the home stretch of the NFL season. We are almost at Christmas time, which means Christmas games, apparently. But we are going to be previewing, deep diving into the relevant games of Week 16 with some news items at the beginning of the show. One of them about a team that just seems to never go away with how they always stay in the news. And another that is my co-host's favorite team and their new quarterback. That co-host, that Atlanta Falcons fan, is my guy, Mr. Four Verts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck?
Former Jets reporter as well. So this has been a big week for me.
You.
Yeah. It's funny because people ask me, like, why do you still follow the Jets? I'm like, I don't know, because it's kind of where I got started. I was really building a name for myself. I don't know. And it's funny because they're just always a car crash in motion at all times, not waiting to happen. Like, it's here 24/7. But I'm doing better than them, so I can't complain too much. It's been a bit of a long week. Like, you can kind of feel the last little sprint before the holiday, but definitely looking forward to some rest and relaxation after this weekend.
Yeah, I get to kind of claim like a little 1% share fandom of some teams. I'm neutral overall, but it's like, I had some time with the Vikings, some time with the Seahawks, sometimes with the Falcons, Bears, Raiders, Jaguars, a lot of teams that have gone through some. I get to kind of like, hey, I know what you guys are going through. I was part of it too, as well. But yeah, that team that I was not part of, or my dad, for that matter, is the Jets. And there was a pretty funny article about the Jets today from Diana Rossini, my former coworker at the Athletics. I don't know where to even begin with this, but Woody Johnson, I think the key one is Woody Johnson reportedly nixed a trade because of Jerry Jeudy's Madden rating. And there's also further assessments based on Madden ratings. And this is no offense to the people that do work at Madden. I mean, there's some ratings that I don't agree with, a lot of ratings I don't agree with in that game. But also there's other aspects from this article that are a little concerning about who is in charge with the Jets, if you ask me. Berating players in the locker room, the owner, Woody Johnson, or one of his sons, who I thought were older for a while. I thought they were I thought they were my age, dude. Like, I thought they were like early 30s, maybe late 20s. I didn't know they were like high schoolers. So it's Brick Johnson, and then I can't remember the other son's name.
Jack,
I should have right.
I believe.
Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, God, just ruining that name for me.
Yeah,
But these sons apparently did some things, berated players, had some influence on trades, making sure social media is in front of Woody Johnson all the time, for better or for worse. Giving out game balls in inopportune moments. That one got me. Giving a game ball to Garrett Wilson, probably their favorite player that they wanted drafted, over giving it to Jeff Ulbrich, his first win as an NFL head coach in the interim. I know it's a messy situation. It's not the greatest situation to get your first win, but still, it's your first win as an NFL head coach. You usually get the game ball. That's how protocol goes in the NFL. What are your thoughts on this, Charles, as someone that used to cover the Jets? More of the same? A little new spice thrown in here?
I think it seems a little bit more extreme maybe than even when I was there. Because when I was there, that was the end of when Woody was in London doing, his little ambassador role for the previous administration. So Christopher, his brother, was in charge most of the time. But man, I tell you what, Woody from across the ocean was still causing a ruckus in Florham Park, New Jersey, man. Like, the things we have to report on, like all the moves they were making. When they hired Adam Gase, Christopher Johnson just went out there maybe like 4 times throughout the year saying like, no, he's a good offensive coach. You guys don't know what you're watching. He's a really good offensive coach. We're like, okay, man, this is getting weird. Then since he's come back, you've had the Zach Wilson bust, which I'm sure is triggering. And then you look like you have a core of a team that is ready to go. So you spend money and draft picks and assets to build this team that is, headlined by Aaron Rodgers. We all know what happened last year after 4 plays. But then you kind of double down on it this year with like a Devontae Adams trade. You go out and sign John Simpson, who was the other player in the article where Woody was skeptical of his Madden rating. And he's been one of their
low
more steady
awareness rating.
What are we doing here? A low awareness rating on Madden?
Isn't that just like a booster for your overall anyways? Like,
yeah,
I think awareness matters for like your center. Like, I think awareness matters for your center, and that's like it. As far as I know.
If you're controlling the player, the awareness rating doesn't matter at all because it's your awareness rating. But it's
your
just
stick skills,
right? It's your stick skills. It does kind of follow like some of the patterns that I think that we've noted on over this season. That dude, it's getting unhinged up there. It's getting crazy. Like, because even with the Madden stuff, if you're like following the timeline, that's a precursor to Woody just walking into Robert Saleh's office and firing him without telling anybody. Then trying to shut down Joe Douglas for the year, then forcing Joe Douglas to trade for Devontae Adams, while also in the middle of all of this, he's trying to bench Aaron Rodgers for Tyrod Taylor and also salvaging that relationship. I'm like, yo, Woody, chill out. And then he fired Joe Douglas, and that just they couldn't even interview anybody who works for the team at that time. So he just kind of woke up one day and was like, you know what, screw this guy, I'm done. So I don't know what the hell is going to happen this offseason. I think anyone who says they know what the Jets are going to do this offseason, I don't think you could possibly know, because they have so many questions to answer. They have a lot of money to sort around, and they have an absolute madman running the show right now.
Yeah, it's you want the guys at the top to be a steadying hand. Like, there's a lot of noise in the football season. I know it's week to week and day to day. I mean, so we do shows multiple times a week, and I can change my feelings 2 days later off of just one game view or one article I read or something I'm looking at. Now, being the owner that's apparently, it's going to be a dictator no matter who the owner is, but being one that is making rash decisions based off of a talking head or some tweet. You don't even know what the stuff they're looking at. We could just say social media. And if you curate your timeline to be a bunch of smart people, okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, Bill Barnwell said this. Yeah, okay, I'll listen to that. But if it's, Joe Schmo Jet fan 420, then I'm going to be a little apprehensive about what you're listening to and what you're trying to do. And I know how New York media is. They're very volatile and very emotional. So I don't want the owner to be
the most important thing I saw.
I know the NFL is not for long, but the owner's got to understand, like, hey, I'm for long. Like, I'm the guy in charge. I should be looking at the big picture of all this. So yeah, no, it's just terrifying. It's not going to change because he's not going to fire himself. The only thing that they could do is go, okay, I'm going to let these guys handle the day to day. But what the guy is older and older, and it's been this way for a decade plus. I mean, Belichick was just making jokes about it weekly on one of his 12 media shows that he had. Still, no one asked him about his recent draft history, by the way. That's a big disappointment from the past 7 months of Belichick's media career. But we'll get to that down the road, I guess. But no, I thought this would be, it's just more of the same. I mean, for the Jets, it's just like the Mike White one really bothered me too.
It's
like saying like that one was messed up because he put in with like broken ribs and he's dogging him. It's like, dude, he's like an undrafted quarterback, man. What were you expecting? Not undrafted, but a late round quarterback. What are you expecting? Backup. Yeah. So just sloppiness from Woody Johnson and the Jets. So entertainment from us, I guess.
Yeah.
And now they get to go to the offseason.
Thank God for them. The last thing I had on that was, dude, can you imagine being a Jets? Like, imagine being Quincy Williams and you're chasing Josh Allen around for an entire game, living right within the margins. He's making all the plays when you're in position, and you get to the locker room and some 18-year-old's barking at you. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's what it's like. These guys are literally sacrificing their livelihoods. And I think the kicker too was, okay, they gave the game ball out. Brick Johnson gave the game ball out, and then he made sure to post it on Instagram. That's just like, oh my God, they're doing it for Instagram clout. It's like, what
calling draft prospects. I'm like, dude,
Jets. All right, moving on. Fireman Dad's still there, apparently. I mean, he's steady. Maybe he's the problem. All right, we're going on to now we're going to start our deep dives, and we're going to start off with our slop watch. Giants, Falcons.
Warning. This is a slop watch.
Kind of perfect sound for probably how you're feeling right now. And how that Falcons franchise is feeling. Yes, we have the Giants at the Falcons. Falcons are 8.5-point favorites, which tells you a lot as they're starting a rookie quarterback and Michael Penix Jr. is getting his first start, benching Kirk Cousins after his, what was it, $100 million for 14 starts. Charles, diehard Falcons fan, dying Falcons fan.
Slanderous.
Diehard Falcons fan or hard dying Falcons fan, maybe.
I've been dead since February 5th, 2017. Everything else is just dirt on top of my grave.
This is just Weekend at Bernie's, podcasting with Bernie's right now. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the whole situation, the Cousins benching, the Penix start, your thoughts on Penix? We'll get into thoughts on Penix, but just the lead up to the benching of Cousins, why this had to happen. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's complicated because we were just joking about like the last thing I saw is the most important thing I saw, but it's also kind of true. It's also kind of important, but it's
not for long
because I've been asked over the past couple of days, why did it take the Falcons so long to make this move? And I was like, because you had like 8 solid games before that. You know, if your quarterback, it's not like this has been bad the whole time. You bucket it for like the first 9 weeks of the season, and they're comfortably a top 10 offense, top 3 rushing game. And I know that they played some softer defenses, but to be outside like the Vikings and Denver, it's not like they've played the toughest defenses in the NFL over this losing streak too. You know, you had the Saints and the Raiders in there, didn't score over 20 points in either of those games. But I digress. When people are asking me, like, why did they wait so long to bench him? It's because if your quarterback helps you get to, you know, a top 10 offense over a 9-game sample size, which is, you know, that's half the season. I'm not going to bench him for 1 bad game. I'm not going to bench him for 2, 3, probably not. Now we're getting to 4, 5, right? which is alarming. And I think the Falcons were in a rare circumstance where I find it hard to just like cast the blame on one person as to why the team is losing, but it really was coming down to Kirk a lot of times, especially because the defense has stepped up over the past couple of weeks. They're getting home. They're getting a lot more pressure. They've kind of figured out what blitz looks they want to run. They've still run the ball well. Just some of these mistakes are like, you're here to not throw interceptions to right-to linebackers. Like, you were here specifically not to do that. We were hoping, like, you know, 13 years you played prior to this would lead to things like that not happening, but it just kept getting worse and worse and worse over the season, to the point where it's like, dude, if we're trending down at this point, what could this look like next year? And I don't even think you want to risk it to find that out. So you pull the plug after a win against the Raiders, in which the Falcons played the Raiders defense without Max Crosby or Christian Wilkins, who are both on injured reserve. They did not run a single play in the red zone, which is incredible if you go back and you look at the field position that they were starting with on a good chunk of those drives. So you got Bijan out here fighting for his life. The offensive line's out here fighting for his life because there's no constraints. There's nothing to make a defense hesitate. You're just dropping back and firing and throwing picks. It had to end. And we'll see what's next for Cousins. But I still don't hate the idea of signing him. It wasn't bad the entire time, but the last 5 games were just untenable. And what you couldn't risk was him going out and torching the Giants, because then you're back in, you know?
Right. It's a nice soft landing spot for Penix to start out in and build some goodwill amongst the decision. Yeah, you crossed the Rubicon with this decision, though. It's like, all right, it's so hard. It's benching Anthony Richardson or Bryce Young and coming back to them. Well, Bryce Young was because of Dalton car wreck injury. And then going back to him, okay, that's a young guy. We're trying to get their head right, all those types of things. But then this is, like you said, a 13-year vet. He's my age, you know, and has a lot of starts and a lot of big game starts, that this is supposed to be the steadying ship. This is why you moved on from Desmond Ridder. Or, okay, we can't handle this volatileness. Like, okay, whatever. Like, even if he has a couple nice throws, no, we can't handle these picks in the red zone. We can't handle these back-breaking plays. And then the vet is doing the exact same things that you're trying to get away from, except he costs $40 million more a season than your 3rd-round pick, second-year guy that you had. I mean, he has the same dropback success rate right now as Ridder did last year. Cousins, it's 0.1% difference. Like, That's not why you paid him. You paid him to have a big chunk difference. To me, not to be top 5, but top 12, somewhere in that range, not 20th, not 22nd, with turnovers. And then also the checkdowns on third down, not trying stuff. So you're turning the ball over on the safe plays and then being too safe on the plays you have to be aggressive. Even the games that they had the magical finishes where Raheem Morris is hugging and kissing Kirk Cousins, the Bucs game on Thursday night is the one I'm thinking of. Cousins made mistakes in that game before the good moments. Like, they were still there. Like, it was just that the finish was not enough to like, oh, okay, that's fine. Those are just those mistakes. So yeah, like I said, you crossed the Rubicon with this. Like, you had hilarious stat splits about what Cousins' stats would be throughout the whole year during this little stretch.
Yeah.
What was it? Like
I still remember because it's just so funny
the
because
last 5 weeks.
If you take the last 5 weeks when the 1-4 stint started, and you just put that over a whole season, because he's thrown 1 touchdown, 9 picks, and he's fumbled the ball 5 times, I think. But just touchdowns and interceptions, you would get 3 touchdowns, 31 picks over a full season. But you would still get 4
fumbles.
Yeah, I think it was 15, 16, 17 fumbles in that range. But you would still get 4,000 passing yards, which is funny because I think that also kind of describes like where the Falcons are right now. If you look over the last 5 games, like when the losing started, they're still 13th in success rate on offense. They're 6th in success rate, rushing attempts.
Yeah.
31st points per drive, 1.37. They are 29th in turnovers per drive, 31st in red zone offense. So it's like they're moving the ball and it gets a little constricted and they're done. And you just had to try something else.
And now they're kickers on injured reserve. Well, that's the other thing too. And I brought this up with Mina when we did her show yesterday was, make sure you check that out, was that it's not only just the passing game Cousins was limiting, it was the run game. Because now they only could get to a certain menu and they started having tendencies. Like they're in pistol. Okay, well, I know what they're going to do here. Okay, they never bootlegged, like ever, which is what you said, the word constraint. That's what this offense has to thrive in. This is going to be your run-first offense. Zach Robinson is a McVay guy. You drafted Bijan top 10. You have Algier as a very good back as well, who should get, other teams should be sniffing around for him. I'm dead serious every time I say that. You have Drake London, who not only is a good receiver, is a good blocker as well. So that formula was going to be run first and then pass off of it. But you need play action. You need a quarterback to turn his back. You need to be under center because that makes the run attack and the run play actions off of it look better and more. That defenses have to honor it more. Now it's like, okay, well, they only can run this direction from this way. They only can do this type of run. They could barely even hand off the ball outside when he was in the pistol, because he can't plant his foot and get off his foot to get the stretch, because you have to stretch as a quarterback to get it out there. So it was not only just the pass constraints, it was the run constraints and the play calling constraints that happened. So that's why I'm like, yeah, screw it. Just go with Penix, who I wish we had more film, but they benched him in the preseason to watch, to see how he look in this offense. But I mean, let's just move on to him and what we expect. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to try some stuff. I think he's going to thrive with London because he's going to let him have some chances on the ball. But what do you expect now, Michael Penix, starting with the Falcons now?
I don't know. I really don't know. Partially because they're going against an opponent that, they're 8.5-point favorites in the game where they're starting a rookie quarterback and they're 1-4 in their last 5. Like, that's how bad the Giants are. So,
yeah. The other team you covered.
Right. Yeah. The other team I spent some covering. Yeah. What a time that was, man. Good God. Yeah. Gettleman. I got some good Gettleman stories, man.
There's Tony.
Yeah. Tony, Joe Douglas, my old coworker.
Good God. Judge, right? Too?
Yeah. Judge. I was there for Judge and Gase. Yeah, Greg Williams, Jamal Adams. that was a funny time.
Mekhi Becton, Robbie Anderson was with the Jets at the time. Yeah. Oh yeah, chosen.
Yeah, just ridiculous times. But back to this game, Penix. I don't really know what to expect, but like I said, this team they're playing against is really bad. I still can't find myself getting too, high on expectations for Penix going to his first start. This is still an NFL defense, a regular season defense, something he's never played against before. Luckily, like the skill players in the offensive line he's playing with, I think give him a good chance for success, especially compared to the state that the Giants defense is in. Like, no Dexter Lawrence for this game is a huge game changer for what the Falcons and Penix are trying to get done. So I just want to see them more so than like actual production. I just want to see what they pull out the playbook this week. Like, he runs some more bootlegs. I know Penix wasn't, his play style wise, wasn't the most mobile guy at Washington, but he can run some stuff that Kirk
he can move.
couldn't. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about such a low threshold that Kirk was at. They ran play action. Well, like, I think 7% of their snaps are by far last in the league. You needed a little change up. So I just want to see some deep shots. I want to see some play action, and that's all I need. I don't really care about anything else.
Giants have a bunch of defensive back injuries, so it's a pretty soft landing spot for a guy making his first start. I got his two throws against the Broncos to go off of, and some preseason snaps like for Penix. But as far as when I was scouting him as a prospect, there were some red alerts with, not really. He wasn't really great throwing over the middle. He was older. He had some knee stuff as well. It's just kind of like, is this the type you guys are going after in Atlanta? But he is aggressive and he gets the ball out quickly. And so I do think there's going to be some highlight throws, and I'm sure there's going to be some woes, just like any guy making his first start. But I do think this is a good setup for him. I'm with you. I just want to see competency, because this is, like, again, it's a really good running game. Like, the Falcons, I think, are first in rushing success rate right now on early downs. So it's still a good run game. That's going to help and lift the floor and make it easier on Penix, but, just perform when he has to drop back and everything, and then see a little layers for the offense. The other kind of mini slop watch we have, and this is more we'll just make this real quick. This is Bills Patriots. Bills are 14-point favorites. It's more just to see. It's more just to see the quarterbacks, Drake Maye, Josh Allen. Just want to see that. That was my little mini swap watch, because I just think that would be a little entertaining to see Drake Maye against a Bills defense that you can get, but it will make it tough on them. They run a lot of cover too, so maybe see some big boy throws from Drake Maye, which could be exciting, and then Josh Allen just continuing his MVP run. So that was our mini slop watch. Penix, Maye, Allen.
What I say on MINUS Pod? Oh, I compared it to a Pokemon evolution where Josh is hopefully like the final form of Drake Maye.
Maye is Charmander and Allen is Charizard.
Yeah. I fully expect the Pats to get blown out, but we could get some Drake Maye highlights. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And then it's a defense there can be chances as long as they actually run their routes. It'll be good. All right, we're going to take a quick break, continue our deep dives, and get into our Haas fight of the week.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, we are back, and this is the auto Haas fight of the week. It's Steelers Ravens. My favorite one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This was just automatic. Like, it's got to be Steelers Ravens. Like, it just has to be the Haas fight of the week. There's maybe another candidate I could have thrown in here, but starting with this game here, George Pickens is almost certainly going to be out. I believe he is out for sure. He's for sure claimed out. Yeah, hamstring done, torch shredded. Watching this game, Charles, we'll start with the Steelers when they have the ball against this Ravens defense, because I do think that is going to be a key component of this game. What are some of your thoughts on the Pickens-less Steelers attack against this Ravens defense?
Oh man. I
got some juice on this one.
I mean, good luck. And it's not really because, Baltimore's defense has definitely improved as the season's gone along, but they're still like slightly above average in that realm.
I got some stats.
Yeah.
Just wait.
They're moving. They're not the worst defense in the world anymore, like they were for sure at the start of the season. We just watched this Steelers offense without George Pickens. We know what happened in the second half. They got stomped out so bad they didn't even have the ball hardly. After the Najee Harris fumble, I think they ran 4 plays. In the first half, they did nothing. I mean,
they won the drive.
They had one drive, and the rest, and their other score was set up by special teams and defense. So We know running the ball is going to be tough against the Ravens defense. They've been one of the best rushing defenses in football all year. Even with Pickens on the field, the Steelers have struggled to consistently run the ball. Arthur Smith even described it, their offense this week as, I'm paraphrasing here, but we kind of just waste a few drives and then we figure out and we're moving by the end of the game. And hey, that's what we're doing right now, which is dead on. That's exactly what they're doing. But the problem is on Sunday they didn't get to the extra drives. They only had the ball twice in the second half. I just think. We know the passing game's constricted because they just don't have the personnel for it. Like Pickens going down it's a catastrophic loss for them. And they don't run the ball well. So I don't really understand where the points are supposed to come from or the yards. It's tough. It's tough because this game could end up giving Baltimore the division if they went out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we did this game with Mina. I was just trying to find some angle, like something to be like, okay, they could pick at this, and that's what we can, no pun intended, we could pick at this, and then we can kind of like go with this, build a little narrative here for the show. And then I updated those George Pickens not on the field stats, and still terrible. The Steelers are 31st dropback success rate, 32nd in explosive plays total, 22nd in explosive pass rate. You already mentioned the run stuff, but the problem is they become the most run-heavy team in the NFL when Pickens is not on the field. They have a 61.5% run rate when George Pickens is not on the field. The league average is 40%. The Eagles are in second at 52%. Packers are in third at 48%. They're only one team above 50%. The Steelers without Pickens are at 61. 2/3 of the time, basically, they are going to be running the ball. And it's because they know what they got. It's because they know this is how they have to make it ugly and hope they pop one. But the thing is, they lose explosive, just the threat of the explosive pass that makes the run game just tight. It's just the math of it all. They don't have, they do have some speed, Calvin Austin and stuff, but it's not like those are guys you want. Russell Wilson likes ball winners, not guys that, maybe run underneath stuff. Like he wants those guys to go up and get it. That's why him and Pickens have great synergy. That's why him and Cortland Sutton had great synergy. Van Jefferson, Darnell Washington jump ball. I don't know, where they can create those big plays. So I know. And then, okay, so if they're going to be one dimensional and run the ball, 3 out of 5 times, all right, what does that mean against the Ravens? Well, like you said, Ravens run defense is very good. That has been sustainable for this Ravens team. They're second in rushing success rate allowed. They're big and burly. They're second in explosive runs allowed. Okay, so let's take that away. All right, a little thing the Ravens have done, because at first I was like, well, you can maybe still get some explosive passes against them. Did a little studying. Some of our friends kind of did the same study as we were talking about too, which is kind of fun. They benched Marcus Williams at safety and moved Kyle Hamilton back to deep safety. And then I believe they move Humphreys into the nickel. I got to look more at it. But so they benched Marcus Williams in week 10. That was a Thursday night game. After that, they had a little mini bye. Since week 10, or since week 11, I should say, they're first in defensive pass success rate allowed. Jumping up from 23rd in weeks 1 to 10. They're 10th in explosive pass rate allowed, jumping up from 32nd, which is what you were alluding to. They're 7th in EPA per pass, jumping up from 30th. So they've gone from what you're alluding to, they've gone from probably, it was hysterical how many explosive passes they're getting up. It was like comedy of errors to now, not only just pretty good, good. And you can feel it. And yes, you can still attack them over the middle of the field and, maybe get after them with Roquan Smith or the linebackers and everything. The thing is, Russ doesn't throw over the middle of the field. That's not how they attack. They attack down the field and toward the sidelines, where Nate Wiggins is playing really good ball. It's just, I just can't find a thread for them to pull at. And it's just they got to work some Tomlin magic and hope Russ hits like Mike Williams or something, just something where they just get some miracle touchdown, out of it, because that's just how they have to win. On the other side of the ball, Steelers, of course, have a big burly front seven. This is where kind of the Haas fightness comes from. I guess both sides a little bit. Big burly front seven. TJ Watt is playing even with the injury stuff. But then going against this Ravens most explosive offense in the league. We know Derrick Henry, we know Lamar Jackson. You've brought this up many times before when we did this game a few weeks ago, when their first matchup. Steelers really good at containing Lamar Jackson. They are the best team against scrambles by EPA in the NFL. Very, very good against running quarterbacks. So it's kind of, Other than that, though, all right, can you keep up? Like, I think they can on that side of the ball. I know. So it's just, again, it's just that, I still think the Ravens will find answers because I think they're going to get chances to find answers.
Yeah. I understand that the Steelers, like, they play the Ravens well. Although I do think you go back to the game that they played in Pittsburgh last year.
It's like the little early turnovers, right? Yeah,
dude. Yeah. It wasn't. They had so many drops, like multiple drop touchdowns, and then you slop your way through that game, and by the end of it, you find yourself in the worst possible place to be in against the Steelers. You need a drive down the field, and TJ Watt has just lit his hair on fire, and he's killing you right
pinned back. Yeah,
right. And I love TJ Watt because he's like one of the few guys where, if it's in that situation, I expect him to get a sack or a strip sack or almost get the ball. And I think that's an insanely hard thing to achieve because everyone knows you're coming, you're going, and you're still getting home. So if you can just kind of survive some like the sloppy play that plagued them in last year's game and certainly in this year's game, I know this might sound crazy or disrespectful to the Steelers defense, but I just want to see them do it again because this Ravens offense is objectively one of the best in the league. And just because you slow them down once doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it again. And I think Philly, even though they don't quite have the same offensive line play as Philly, Philly kind of gave the blueprint for how to deal with the Steelers defense. And that's just run the damn ball. I thought that Baltimore, they didn't commit to it hard enough. It's not like points-wise that game really ever got out of hand early this year. Derrick Henry only had 13 carries in that game. He had a long of 31. He had the fumble, which is, uncharacteristic for him. So I would just say get back on the Henry train, lean on that. The Steelers defense, they've weirdly been susceptible to runs this year. Since Russell Wilson hit the starting lineup, they're 23rd in rushing success rate. 21st in rushing success rate on the defensive side of the ball. So, Lamar and Derrick Henry, in theory, should be able to take that over. And I just kind of expect one of the elite offenses in the league to get back on track this week. And hopefully, for their own sake, get that home game they need to win the AFC North.
Make the whole game about the Steelers linebackers. That's basically it. Make them decide the game. And I think the Ravens have the means to do it. Ravens are 6.5-point favorites at home. Who are you taking in this one?
Ravens. I'm sure now that Pickens is officially out, that's going to rise back up too. I think it was at like 7 or 8 when it started off.
Was it climbing back up? Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens as well. And I think they'll cover. I just think they just, no offense to the Steelers stuff. They just need Pickens. The offensive formula just doesn't work right now. They're missing they can't solve for X because they don't have their X receiver right now. All right, moving on to the team you just mentioned. And this is an NFC East battle. Oh, also that game was on Saturday, by the way. But also going on to Eagles at Commanders. Commanders are 3.5-point underdogs at home. The Eagles will clinch the NFC East with a win. Another little divisional battle, a divisional rematch they've already faced this season, and the Eagles took home that one pretty handedly, actually, too. All right, looking at this game, Charles will start when the Commanders have the ball. What are some of the things you're checking out?
They've taken a lot of sacks recently over since week 11, over the last 4 or 5 games. Jaden Daniels has been sacked on 11.5% of his dropbacks. The Commanders are 32nd in the league in offensive sack rate over that time. Come on, we all know what the deal with the Eagles is here. I mean, it's impossible to talk about this team without talk about this defense without talking about the job that Jalen Carter's doing, because it seems like he's just flat out unblockable right now. And I still think that Jaden Daniels at times he's still done a good job of like making things happen with his legs, escaping pressure, generating explosive plays by himself. But there are more negative plays now at this point in the season than there were early on. That's something you're probably just gonna have to deal with, his style of play. It is what it is. Hopefully you can just get the explosive plays like they have been for a good chunk of the season to kind of buoy some of the negative plays that come with it. So I just think that it's just a tough matchup for every offense, but the Commanders have already shown that they can kind of get beat up front by this Eagles defense. I think the last game that they played in Philadelphia, you could just kind of see as the game went on, it just became a little bit too much for Jaden. Got tight, got compressed. Can't really do too much. Oh no, they're scoring points. Yeah. This is difficult. Like I think the Commanders, like they'll move the ball to do their thing, but it's just too much against where the Eagles are right now.
Yeah, this is a great proving ground game for me for the Commanders, because right now I feel them as like, oh, this is a good offense. Not the defense, but improving defense, I'll say, but a good offense. But how do they go against the good defenses? Because so far it's been a little mixed bag when they play the good defenses, which kind of, when they get into playoff time, make things interesting. But like you said, this is not a good matchup for how the Commanders want to attack. They want to be hyper efficient. They want to go fast. Jane Daniels make a bunch of quick, smart decisions, and they want to run the ball. And then as soon as you creep up, then they hit a go ball to Terry McLaurin. Like that is their formula. And last time they played, Daniels didn't really push the ball at all. So throws of 10 or more air yards in their first matchup. Daniels went 1 of 5 for 10 yards and 1 pick. Only 15% of his throws went 10 or more air yards. So everything was nickel dime. That's what Vic Fangio wants you to do. That's what the Eagles defense wants quarterbacks to do. Oh, you're going to throw for 4 yards? We're going to smoke you and tackle you. And that's what Cooper DeJean does really well in the slot. So all those natural answers that the Commanders have that they usually get after defenses, the Eagles are just like, okay, like the fine, throw another one, throw another bubble. We'll tackle it. Throw another quick game. Okay, we'll tackle it. Well, you want to run it? Okay, we'll let you get those 4 or 5 yards. So you got to keep doing it. And Brian Robinson had a solid day on the ground the first time they played. It's just that, you still have to throw the ball. That's what you still have to push the ball against this defense and threaten them in the seams and the digs and stuff outside just the go ball stuff. And even the other easy answer that Cliff Kingsbury does a good job doing in this Commanders offense is they go tempo. A lot of no huddle, and bad defenses you see just fall apart against it. They're just every which way, and then there they go and run for another 10 yards. Eagles, because they run a lot of zone and they're very sound, they don't run a lot of blitzes and they don't get to a lot of exotic stuff for long play calls. They are very good against no huddle. Second in success rate against no huddle. Fourth in EPA per play. Have allowed the fewest yards per play, 3.9 yards per play against no huddle. So just all the Commanders day one, hey, this is how we get after most defenses. The Eagles are like, okay, that's fine with us. So I think this is a great proving ground for the Commanders. Like, all right, this is a rematch. This is a divisional rematch. Your only team, one of the few good defenses you've gone against. All right, what layers do you have, Cliff Kingsbury? What new elements are you going to bring to this offense? And they're 2 weeks off of a bye, so maybe they had this in the back of their head. Jane Daniels, how do you push the ball? He has flashes of it, but now you have to do it maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 times against this Eagles defense, which is easier said than done. So, I kind of was just trying to find something here for them, but this is a really good Eagles defense, and they have just good answers against the Commanders offense. I'm really excited to watch just to see, if Kingsbury and Daniels do new things and show new things, then that makes it interesting for when they get to playoff time. The other side of the ball, Eagles offense, Commanders defense. Eagles ran for 228 rushing yards last time, and Jalen Hurts threw for about 200. Really injury-wise, Landon Dickerson has a banged-up knee, but I'm going to guess he's playing. Jonathan Allen was a limited participant with a pec tear from weeks and weeks ago. And then I think someone asked him what's going on. He goes, I'm built different. That's basically how he said he came back from a pec tear. So I don't know if he's going to play.
Sounds like exactly something he would say.
He's insane. I mean, look at his face mask. Just look at his face mask. And that's all you need to know about Jonathan Allen. Just the full cage, bar down the middle. This side of the ball, though, Eagles have an advantage. I mean, they can run on. The Commanders defense has played a little better. They've gone from one of the worst to below average. They can get after the passer a little bit, but this is a really good Eagles offensive line. They can run the ball really well. Jalen Hurts, I don't think is going to have to be efficient in this game. It's going to be the classic Eagles formula, I think. But do you have anything else to add on this side of the ball, or I just kind of paint the picture?
I think the only thing I have left to add on this side of the ball is, the strengths for where Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown succeed, it's like you're perfectly tailored to just torch a Dan Quinn defense. You're going to see a lot of cover 1, a lot of cover 3. The Commanders have the 11th most plays in cover 1 and cover 3 combined this year. They've given up an explosive play on 18.8% of those passing dropbacks, which is good for 31st in the league. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Blitz them, play some zone, mix it up, or you're going to get stampeded,
you gotta
man.
Funky it up. You got to blitz. If you feel like you have a disadvantage against the Eagles offense, which most defenses are at a disadvantage, you got to throw funk. Like, you have to. It's just the way to make them all discombobulated and dare them to run the ball 100 times, which I feel like the Eagles should be doing anyways, but they have, egos to deal with in that building. It seems like whenever they get to too many run plays, just a little bit, that seems to be eking out here with each new news story every week. All right. The Commanders are 3.5-point underdogs at home. What are your predictions for the game?
I think it sounds about right. I don't know if they blow them out, but get it done.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think the Commanders will play better than that first matchup as far as tighter score, but I think the Eagles will cover, but it'll be like a 24-20, something of that sort. But I'm curious to check this one. It's a fun divisional matchup between two very likely playoff teams. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with our last two deep dives. All right, we are back with our last two deep dives for Week 16. We have Texans at Chiefs. Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites at home. Patrick Mahomes is dealing with a high ankle sprain. What else is new? And then this game, for some other reason, maybe because it's at Kansas City, it reminds me of the big Chiefs comeback when Bill O'Brien was still the head coach of the Texans. That might have been the 2019 season or 2020 season. Yeah. And like they were down 17-0, like right away, a whole bunch of special team gaffes and all that.
I think they were down 24.
It might have been 24. And then even like betting odds still had it like even money for the Chiefs, like the live odds, like, even though they were down like 4 scores. That game, I will never forget it. I'll never forget it. One, because I think that was when I got to actually do some fun stuff, because I was working at the newspaper at this time. So I got to like the Jets and Giants were never playing at that time of year, except for that one weird season a couple years ago for the Giants. So I got to cover this game like from afar. So I interviewed Mahomes' dad before the game, and that was actually pretty cool because he's a bit of a loose cannon. But the one thing I'll never forget. Yeah, just a little bit. The one thing I will never forget about that game, though, was the betting odds kind of described it perfectly, but they were up 24-0, and it still felt like they were fighting for their damn lives. Like I remember they were running like special teams, like fake punts, trick plays. I'm like, ooh, it's the second quarter, man. And then you get to halftime, you're down 28-24. That was a great game. Yeah. I was looking at the stat sheet and the box score. Yeah. So they're down 24-0 with 10 minutes, 54 seconds left in the second quarter. And then the Chiefs proceeded to rip off 41 straight points.
Yeah.
And so middle of the third quarter, 4:39 third quarter, not even the end of it, it was 41-24. And then the final score was 51-31. God. I remember that game. But anyways, this game, this year, let's start with when the Texans have the ball against this Chiefs defense. What are you checking out with this uneven Texans offense against a Spags defense?
Yeah, uneven is kind of, I think it's fair to describe both units as uneven right now.
Yeah.
I don't really think anything's wrong with Spags or like his defense per se, but you just kind of see the attrition, or specifically like not having L'Jarius Sneed out there really matters. Because we remember back when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the Eagles a couple of years ago. One of the big stories going into that game was, we have all these young defensive backs. It's pretty crazy that we're starting, all these young guys who a bunch of them were like 4th through 7th round picks in the Super Bowl and winning. But you also had L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie on those defenses too. That kind of helps buoy out some of the bad stuff you're going to see inherently.
2 All-Pros really helps.
Yeah. And McDuffie last year in the Super Bowl was just out of his damn mind. Amazing. So when you have those two guys at the same time playing at a high level, you can live with some of the other missteps. But when you have Sneed off to the Titans, no one's really developed that much and been able to step into that role. And McDuffie, where he plays closer to the middle of the field, you can still just throw it away from him on the outside.
Now he's up to the outside.
Yeah.
And then that's why they freaking getting gashed in the slot.
Right. So because I've been awake for way too long this week. But part of the issues that people saw coming into the season was all of a sudden, I remember in training camp, McDuffie's like, shoot, I'm ready to play whatever they asked me to play. I was like, that's a shift for this defense from where they were.
Yeah.
And they just haven't been as precise in general. Like years to me, it just kind of feels like where the Chiefs are on defense right now, you're just kind of waiting for Chris Jones to make a big play, especially like in crunch in big circumstances. I don't think they're not like a terrible defense, but to be like league average recently after where they've been the past couple of years is a pretty big drop off. And now, like, I don't actually know how concerned I am about the Chiefs because they're just too much recent history. They still have Mahomes. But I do think when it comes down to their defense, they're not playing at the same standard that they had over the past couple of years. They're like 18th in success rate on offensive dropbacks this year. They're still, above average in EPA per play. But I do think someone as good as CJ Stroud, even with the terrible things that are happening around him, is still good enough to make some plays against his defense. But even on his side of the ball, like, they're pretty limited too. They're pretty limited as well. It's kind of like coughing baby versus coughing baby fight if you're just looking at what they've done recently. Because, I mean, they still can't run the ball. It's still too much Stroud hero ball.
Nope. It's, one of the worst run games still. 31st, early down rushing success rate. And the Texans are trying. They're shifting offensive linemen. They're trying new stuff. It's poorly coached. Like the Texans offensive line is poorly coached. And you can just tell. Protection rules are bad. Vets are worse now. Like, I've never seen Shaq Mason play his worst ball in his career. Laremy Tunsil's playing the worst ball of his career. Dalton Schultz is like making botches in protection, like, which matters because you're going against Steve Spagnuolo, who is going to poke at that and test that like a velociraptor. Well, where's your little weakness here? Oh, okay. Well, how about a little corner blitz? Let's see how that tries. I just remember that Packers-Texans game. That's what the Packers did. They just brought some funky blitzes, and all the auxiliary guys, meaning the non-offensive linemen, for the Texans were just messing up. Laremy Tunsil was messing up. Their eyes weren't in the right spot. And now you're going against the maestro who blitzes on every down, does every type of blitz, does zone blitzes. Like I trust Stroud against the blitz and finding stuff. I don't trust the protection. And I just don't. Like, they have yet to prove me wrong with feeling that way. And then on top of it, it's not like, okay, they can just run the ball and that's how you beat Spags. You run the ball. Texans 31st from rushing success rate. Chiefs are 6th in stopping the run, which has been the one little difference with this Chiefs team that maybe in Spags' old teams is that they stop the run well and they limit explosive run plays. Yeah, but like you said, the passing is kind of just more mediocre passing defense, I would say, middle of the pack, as opposed to last year, which was, that was a formula last year for me. It was like, okay, they got Spags, they have a top 5 defense, and then they have Mahomes. Like, that was kind of in my head, like, okay, they can win this and they figure it out. This year, the run game's better on offense for the Chiefs, but the defense took a step back. And now it's more like, okay, so, and then we'll talk about the offense in a sec, but it's just kind of like, okay, that just makes me feel a little antsy. But you just, like you said, you never really bet against the Chiefs. I was looking at Stroud against the blitz. They're 25th in success rate against the blitz. They like to throw hot because it's a Shanahan offense, which is also very concerning because Spags does really well against Shanahan-based offenses. He takes advantage of the condensed splits. So it's just, again, it's just not a makeup of a game that I like for the Texans offense. And like you said, I think it's going to be Stroud hero ball. Like they have to hit a couple big plays, catch them in a blitz, hopefully wad it up just enough, and then just gash them down the field because Spags won the blitz on early downs. The Texans are bad picking up blitzes on early downs. They're bad picking up blitzes on late downs. Yeah, should be a little dicey for Stroud back there, even if the Chiefs defense is maybe taking a little step back. The other side of the ball, more fun, more like, is this what you got? But this Texans defense, pretty dang good. They are kind of at the top of all the metrics I like to look at. I mean, they can get after the passer. I kind of was looking, we talked about this with Mina, but Texans are going to run a lot of man coverage on late downs, and Mahomes is pretty good against man coverage on late downs, but they also have this guy, Derek Stingley, and I think he's going to take away DeAndre Hopkins. And then Also, they're really good against tight ends. If you want to throw to Travis Kelce, the Texans are the best defense against tight end targets. First in success rate, third in EPA per play. I always say just best, but okay, top 5, top 3. So that's what's just the curiosity for me on this side is like, all right, Mahomes also likes to scramble against man coverage. He has the second most scrambling yards against man coverage in the NFL this season. He's got a high ankle sprain. Not that I think he'll try, but again, what is their answer going to be? Who is going to step up? Is it going to be Hollywood Brown coming back from injury? We'll see. But on this side of the ball, Chuck, what are some of the other things you're keying on?
Man, I think it's gonna have to be one of those games where Mahomes just kind of goes Super Saiyan. We'll see if he can do it with, the ankle injury. I know this is not logical thinking, but I've just seen him with an ankle injury too many times still come out on top. So I'm just not throwing
it's
it
a heart
out
versus head thing here.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. He's Mahomes. Like, he could still play well any given week against any given team. The offensive line situations, especially against this team, that's a tough sell, man. That's a tough sell because it seems like they've tried just about everything they could think of at left tackle and nothing's really working. You had Kingsley Sumataya quickly realize he was not ready. Go back
he
to
wasn't
Wanya
supposed
Morris.
to play this year anyways.
No, he wasn't.
No. He was a project.
Part of the problem, though, is competition with Wanya Morris, and that's how you end up going to sign, our favorite anonymous offensive tackle, DJ Humphries, in midseason just to see if you can get anything to stick. I don't think it's going to work this week. But, the Chiefs, when you have a player like Mahomes, you can be really, really good in the margins, like on gotta have situations, and their third and fourth down stats on offense this year are freaking insane. Second in offensive EPA on third and fourth down, fifth in EPA per play, fourth in EPA per dropback, first in success rate on offensive dropback, second on rushing attempts, and they're getting the first down on 52% of those plays. Absurd. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are allowing a lot of pressure on those plays, but we know that Mahomes in those situations does like to sit back and wait and sometimes scramble and see if he can make something happen after the initial play. So that's what I'm looking for. Texans defense has also been pretty damn good on third and fourth down, like you said before. I would be worried about Kansas City's wide receivers past DeAndre Hopkins going against the secondary, especially if they just decide to put Stingley on Hopkins. Like, the rest of the guys are more than capable of covering what the Chiefs are throwing out there right now. So this is going to be a compressed game, but shoot, still got Mahomes, so you got a chance.
Got Mahomes. You got Andy Reid. They're I think the Chiefs are third in first down differential. That's their formula. They're trying to get first downs. They're not trying to get points. It's like that's what they're going. Again, the scoring range, and maybe we'll eke out a touchdown, kick a field goal here. We won't turn the ball over. That's what they're trying to do. I'm glad you brought up the third and fourth down stats. Like the Texans too. No one has more sacks on third and fourth down than the Texans. So they're going against insert left tackle here and the rest of the offensive line for the Chiefs. And then even on early downs, I do think that the Chiefs will be able to run the ball efficiently. They are, just a brutally efficient run game. They also, it's also kind of funny though, the Texans allow the most explosive runs on early downs, and the Chiefs have the least explosive run attack on early downs. So that's another coughing baby versus coughing baby matching there. The Texans are amazing on early downs against the pass. They're first in passing success rate on early downs. So I think the Chiefs have to play within themselves. I know that sounds so stupid to tell Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to play within themselves, but that's kind of how you have to do it. I think they have to be really boring. I think it's a lot of runs, a lot of bubbles, raw runs, a lot of bubbles. Just that's how you get after this quarter's defense. And then Mahomes on third down, and hopefully it's 3rd and 5 or less. That's their formula. That's going to be their formula, I think, the rest of the way. But against this Texans team, especially, that's so good against the pass. That's something that you kind of have to do. I mean, Jimmy Ward looks great in the slot, stepping back for that, squeezing stuff on the middle. So Texans have good answers for them. I just think that the Chiefs do have some paths. It just has the ugly paths that are going to lead to a lot of people going like, what's wrong with this offense, as they win like 20-17 or something like that again.
Yeah.
Chiefs are 3.5 point favorites. Like I said at the top, what's your prediction for this game? I can't remember what I said yesterday.
I don't remember either, but I think the Chiefs win just because I just don't know if Texas offense has enough going on around Stroud right now.
I think it's a bad matchup for them offensively, so I'm with you. I think Chiefs win, but I do think this is going to be a fun. I mean, it's a 3.5 point spread. It's not crazy, but I think this is going to be a real tight game, just because of how both teams have to play. So I think it's just going to be tight, down to a couple big plays from the very talented quarterbacks that I am excited to watch. Getting into the last game, we have the Nate Burleson / Steve Hutchinson Bowl, Poison Pill Bowl, if anyone remembers that. Also the Mike Tice Bowl. We have the Vikings at the Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-point underdogs at Lumen Field. We'll start with Vikings have the ball against the Seahawks defense. What are some of the things you're checking out on that side of the ball?
I think that this is kind of a house fight too, in terms of like what we're seeing from the recent resurgence of the Seahawks run defense, and the Vikings have been able to run the ball well. Like Aaron Jones has been pretty good this year. That hasn't really been an issue for them, but I do think it's been just freaking awesome watching the Seahawks defense kind of come to life recently. And I don't think you can really undersell, like, they gutted, not benched, gutted their inside linebacker room in the middle of the season, traded for Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight, you're up. And it was kind of like exactly what they needed. Leonard Williams is playing like it's contract year. Leonard, Byron Murphy has been good when he's been in the games. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is, I think you've really seen the talent like pop recently for the Seahawks right now. And I think that is a really compelling matchup against a team like the Vikings, who want to run the ball and they want to be able to throw play action. And I think the Seahawks are at least, set to defend like the first chunk of that, right? Where Devin Witherspoon's going crazy on that side of the ball. The front's good. You should have some favorable looks versus the run. You should be able to beat some of maybe the backup offensive linemen that they have in the game. It's because they're a little bit dinged up. But I just want to see if they can get Sam Darnold to those 3rd and long situations, because I think that's where they have a chance to maybe confuse them and get their hands on a few passes. Because Sam's been great. But this Seahawks defense, man, they're really starting to come into form. And I think that as a unit by themselves, like, they're formidable now. I know that this past week against Green Bay maybe wasn't exactly what they were hoping for, but it's hard.
But the Packers offense is really good.
Packers offense is really good, right? Really good. So this is still a work in progress. It's year one. This was not a good defense last year, so they're another part of this, defensive turnaround that we've seen from a few teams this year. I just want to see how well they match up front, and if they can put the Vikings passing game in the tough situations.
Yeah, no, good shout out, Byron Murphy II. Their run, his on-off splits, and I know there's noise with this, don't get me wrong, but when he is off the field, they allow 5.1 yards per run. When he is on the field, they allow 4.1 yards per run. So full yard difference when he is on the field, which is the best of any of their players on their roster. So he is significant he's more of a gap shooter type. He can drop in and hold the point of attack, but he's a disruptive player when paired with Leonard Williams, who's so big and burly and athletic and kind of do a little bit of everything. It's just a nice pairing that they have kind of going on in their front. They got some guys who can get after the passer. And the Vikings, I wrote about the Vikings this week, and really looking at their, I got to pull this up because it's really looking at their offensive line pressure stuff. This is getting a little concerning, actually, now that I've kind of really studied it a little bit and gone like, okay, is this their Achilles heel? Cam Robinson, since he joined the Vikings, has allowed the highest pressure rate in one-on-one situations of any offensive tackle in the NFL. Christian Darrisaw was about middle of the pack before he got hurt. Their right guard, Ed Ingram, allows the most pressures in one-on-one situations of any offensive interior pass protector in the NFL. That's 2 spots. That's not good. Worst and worst, not good. Garrett Bradbury, their center, allows the 2nd most one-on-one pressures among all centers in the NFL, only behind the Colts, who have started 2 different rookies at center this year. That's 3 of your 5 spots are amongst the worst as far as allowing pressures. And some of this is how aggressive this pass attack is. Darnold, there are a lot of deep dropbacks, a lot of downfield attack. But that's a way you can maybe get them. Even if they take sacks, they're going to be aggressive, but just rack up pressures. You have advantages, I think, at least at 2 spots there, them being the Seahawks defense. So that would just kind of be the way I would, maybe have an advantage there. Like you said, the Vikings run game is pretty good. It's explosive. It's been the best run game that O'Connell has had since he's been with the Vikings, and this is by design. And this is also a great way to kind of insulate Darnold when maybe some things get askew, keep defenses honest when they give you all these light boxes, which the Seahawks will do. They like to run light boxes, so maybe get some Aaron Jones, touches in there. But bringing up that the blitz stuff, I was looking. Darnold's been actually better against the blitz than I thought because they don't throw hot like a lot of Shanahan offenses do. They block it up, gash, and the numbers kind of match it. It's kind of perfect. He's second in explosive passes against the blitz, but then 10th in success rate. So that
sounds about right. Honestly,
that's right. Yeah, that's Gash City. Like they're hunting. Like that's a headhunter offense. That's they're trying to take skulls, take scalps. Like they're trying to go after all of it. So Seahawks are well coached on defense. It's not all perfect, but it's a top 10 defense. It has been since Ernest Jones has gotten there, and they do some really cool things on passing down. So that's why I really think it's to come down how the passing down goes. So I'm right there with you. On the other side of the ball, which I also think is pretty juicy, got some injuries. Sorry, Seahawks. Yeah, Oluwalewatimi, who's really stepped up at center, looks like he's hurt. They got an undrafted free agent now at center. They have a rookie 6th rounder at right guard who was playing well and had a baptism by fire last week against the Packers. Yeah. He met Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton and just about everybody else from the Packers.
Dude,
what our guy Griff said.
Yeah, Griff, our friend Griff does a great job. Seattle Overload podcast with Maddie Brown. Yeah, if you really want like super in-depth stuff on the Seahawks, check that out. But Griff is very funny, and I forget what the guard's name is who just got his tail kicked. It's
so bad.
It's like Lamo or something like that.
Yeah.
But Griff said he was heartbroken for him, and that really is just a perfect way to describe what happened. He got his ass kicked, man. It was bad.
He was playing so well, and then he faced some real dudes, and it was like, oh, this is how the NFL is. Lau Maye. And I don't. What do you say? He was heartbroken for?
Heartbroken for him. Yeah. It's such a funny way to describe someone getting beaten up in the NFL game. Heartbroken for you, dude, man.
I love, but that's how it looked. So why I bring that up? You're going against Brian Flores and this Vikings defense, and you might have an undrafted free agent at center for you. Not what you want. It's not what you want. And a rookie 6th round right guard. And it's rookies or rookies. And Geno Smith, like how you get after this Vikings defense is you have to have a quarterback hang in there, but you have to protect it. And that's why it's worrisome for me. They're going to put a lot on an undrafted free agent at center, and Geno Smith, who's already been under fire throughout the year, now is facing this defense that does so much. And since the Seahawks bye week, they've done so much good stuff in the run game. This Vikings run defense is really good, and they make it a slog against certain types of runs. I just don't trust the Seahawks offensive line coach and their offensive line to kind of be efficient and get it done. So my kind of synopsis of this side is hero Geno. Like that's what it's got to be. I think for the Seahawks to have any path here. Anything to add on to my want offensive line Seahawks analysis?
No, I mean, I think that's dead on. I mean, Brian Flores has to be looking at the Seahawks offensive line and be like, oh my God, we are going to nuke them. Because they like, this is just kind of like advanced level stuff that I don't think they're quite prepared for. They're just not ready for it. I think this is going to be a pretty tough game for them. This is like the perfect defense to exploit some of their deficiencies as far as, just like putting together a coherent or cohesive offensive attack goes.
Yeah, and offensive line coach for the Seahawks is Scott Huff, who was a Ryan Grubb guy at University of Washington. They won the Joe Moore Award last year. It's just that one of his base stuff isn't bad. Like I don't want like just totally nuke this guy. I'm nuking 2 offensive line coaches in one show. But I do see some limitations on like when they face advanced defenses. Like I do think that they just don't adjust like protection wise. They don't. I just see them getting outwitted schematically, especially when they go against more advanced pass rushes. And this is one of the hardest ones to protect. You have to be on your game, and not just the line coach, all the offensive linemen, all the running backs, all the tight ends, the quarterback, all those guys have to be on their game, which is why some of the ones that can do it, like the Rams, they can gash this defense because they block it up. Quarterback hangs in there and gashes them. Geno's willing to do it, but that's the thing is everybody else, I don't know if they're up to snuff to pass protect for, probably 40 plus times against this defense, especially if they get into a negative game script. So that's just, it's a tough path to build for this Seahawks offense. Can they get it done? Yeah, maybe. You can gash them. You can get some, maybe you hit those 3 big plays, those 5 big plays. It's just they haven't really been able to do it outside the last few weeks. And that was because they had Oluwatimi and actually were building some momentum and he was handling it. And now they just kind of, you take that away and now they're just throwing another wrench to this kind of mess that's going on with this offensive line.
I hate to, I don't want to denigrate anyone's career experience, but this game is you're getting basically a guy in Ryan Grubb and his offensive line coach Scott Huff, who have only coached college up to this point. Brian Flores,
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Brian Flores has never coached college football before, and it seems like Kevin O'Connell never really coached college football before. These are NFL guys, and I think sometimes in this game you'll probably see just the split in terms of where the preparation has come from over the past few years, especially when it comes to Seattle's pass pro.
It's a great point to make, though. For better or for worse, or not for better or for worse, whether it's right or not, college guys, quote unquote, that have no NFL experience will have a stigma against them. And I'll be honest, most of it's justified. From what I've seen since I was 5 years old, just coaches I've been around, seen, experienced, watched, studied. There is a huge adjustment going from college to the NFL, and ones that usually do have success at least have some NFL experience. Like Harbaugh going from Stanford to the 49ers doesn't count. He played in the league. He was a starting quarterback. He coached around. He did stuff with the Raiders and everything. Even Pete Carroll going from USC to the Seahawks. This guy was a head coach of multiple NFL teams before that. So it's just that the NFL, Chip Kelly's talked about this, and I was kind of one of those confirmation of it. And he goes, the thing I didn't realize about the NFL is that how situational it is. And every situation is so different from the other situation. Not just, just run this play on 3rd and 8 because we can get 12 yards on it no matter what. Run the same play that we run on 1st and 10, the same play we run on 3rd and 5, right? That's what we do. And you see guys like Cliff Kingsbury learn. He's added some new stuff and he's changed up some of the stuff. He doesn't line everybody up on the same spot every time. The NFL's hard. It's really, really hard. These coaches are really good at coming up with the schemes. So, Grubb and Huff have done nice things, and I thought they've really put it together. I wouldn't say put it all the way together, but showed that they're growing as coaches. But this is just a tough battle for them. And I'm hedging against it going into the week. Seahawks are 3-point underdogs at home. Are you going Vikings here?
Yep, I'm going Vikings.
I'm also going Vikings. I'm going Vikings and a Vikings cover, just to tap it off. All right. Now we are going to get to a couple mailbag questions to wrap this show up. Remember, you can send in those mailbag questions to football301mailbag at yahoosports.com or submit a review on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars will jump you to the front of the line. To start off, this is a, what do they call it? You know this. You were a professional writer or are a professional writer. Errata? Errata? Oh. Is it, or when you fix a mistake afterwards? Correction. Anyways, but Vols Forever 4545. He said, can we get some breakdown of coverage identification? Watch the Ernest Jones interception versus Arizona that Nate said was cover 2, but one of the safeties dropped lower, yada, yada, yada. I trust Nate 10 out of 10 times. Want clarification on that. Let's make it 9 out of 10 times. I had the coverage wrong on that breakdown. So I did want to compliment Ernest Jones. It was actually even more impressive because it was cover 3. On that play that I was talking about, was Ernest Jones' interception against the Cardinals. I thought he was a pull dropper in cover 2. He was just a hook dropper in cover 3. I know this is just me, just getting nerdy, but it was really impressive. It was still speaking to his opponent scouting and how he turned under the backside dig, but it was not cover 2. So my bad. Cover 3 there. Did not see the safeties. TV copies. You know what I mean? That's why we watched the film. But going on to the next question, so I just want to correct that. And this one I think you could take. This is from Fat Kid Down the Street. What do you think of Jackson Dart from Ole Miss as a prospect? Could he be a good mid-round pick for the Raiders if they took best player available early on? Chuck, you take this one as a SEC aficionado.
What if I told you, what's his name? Fat Kid Down the Street What if I told you, fat kid down the street, if you just turn right back around and walk back like 3 years into the past, you can see what's going to happen to Jackson Dart's future. We just did this with Matt Corral. We just did this. To me, they're like the same exact player.
They are. That's how I evaluated them.
Right. So the thing, to me, the quintessential Jackson Dart game is the game they played against Florida this year, where they're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they slogged it for a good chunk in the second half, but still you have your signature lane like shot plays where it looks like he's digging through like a Madden playbook and he's got something for your ass, like that you see one time a year and he's got you. But when the game got compressed on the last drive of the game, I want to say Jackson Dart threw 3 interceptions on the same drive, and they all came back, and then just threw another backbreaker to end it. But when you had to have it, and maybe you want to lean into some more conventional stuff that you've practiced more often, or stuff that's not going to catch everyone off by surprise, he just got crushed. And the other thing with Lane in general is, he's never had a quarterback that like didn't have a productive season. There was like 1 year at FAU in between Jeff Driscoll's younger brother, who had a productive year at FAU, and then his last year there, where they went 11-3. I don't remember who their quarterback was. And then they get to Ole Miss. Matt Corral, he's putting up numbers. Jackson Dart's putting up numbers. Back in the day, Matt Barkley was putting up numbers. None of these guys were really like real deal NFL prospects, though, and I think that matters. Lane's not here to develop quarterbacks for the NFL. Not at all, which is, I know it's an interesting to say about someone who used to be an NFL head coach briefly, but he's here to score points in the most Looney Tunes manner possible, if that's what the situation calls for. It doesn't get anyone ready for the pros. We remember Matt Corral's career was DOA after he got injured, never really got a chance back when he did get in. Wasn't very good. So this offense, stay away from it if you're trying to find a quarterback from the NFL.
Matt Corral got hurt, and still the Panthers traded. You basically used 2 third round picks to draft him. But I'm with you on Jackson Dart. I see him as a day 3 guy, late day 3 guy. It's a money play offense. Everything that you just said. It's like he's dialing up a Madden play that he knows he can get you. That's what it is. And that's what Lane's going to do. Like, it's good. It's fun. It's exciting. He wants to get his fist pumps in. He wants to raise the hand up before the ball's released. He loves doing it. But that's what they're not developing. There's not a lot of progression by the quarterbacks. It's a lot of like, hey, I'm dialing this up to go to the ball right here because this is going to be open on this play. So yeah, it's just a little hard. And I'm glad you brought up the Florida sequence, because that was like those throws all came back in my head as you were talking about him. And he was like, every time, I don't want to get on the guy, but every time one of those bad plays happened and a review would happen, he's on the sideline like crying. And I'm just like, and it happened like 3 times in a row. I was like, all right, maybe that's not maybe the mindset you want to be in this situation right now. That you're like really pressing and coming off and coming back on and coming off, coming back on. And you're like overwhelmed every single time. And he was throwing into like triple coverage. But yeah, so long story short, I don't know if this is a good mid-round pick if the Raiders took a best player available early. I don't know if they should be on the Darnold train or Darnold sweepstakes or what. But it's a shaky quarterback class.
I just found something that I don't know why I find this funny, but I was looking back through Lane Kiffin's head coach history, and the only time like he didn't have a good passing offense was 2018 FAU, and what he did have though was Devin Singletary, who rushed for 1,300 yards and 22 touchdowns, and then they had another running back, Kareth White, who ran for almost 900 yards and 8 more touchdowns. So the pass, he couldn't find the money pass plays, but figured out how to run the ball perfectly fine.
He knows who his best players are. The Elijah Moore film was always hilarious because he knew that was his best player. So he just found every way possible to get him the ball. So it was just like, hey, you're at tight end this play. Okay, now go to the flat, like backfield. Okay, right here. He just knew. He knows who his best players are. How about that? But yeah, fun question. Closing it out today. Charles and I will be back on Sunday to recap Sunday and some of the Saturday slate. I made the guess as well because those games were pretty interesting for the 5th quarter on Sunday evening. So make sure you check that out. We usually get that out into everybody's podcast feeds and on YouTube before the Sunday Night Football wraps up. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Charles, where can they find you?
Find me on 4Verts on Twitter and Blue Sky. We were both on Mina Khan's podcast yesterday. We both done a lot of writing this week. So we'll be back to talk about Saturday games and the final, couple weeks of the NFL season, the regular season, I should say.
Yeah. Cranking it up for the holidays. Subscribe to us at Football 301. Follow us or rate us 5 stars, pretty please. Watch us on YouTube as well, at the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your weekend. We got college football playoffs starting as well, so enjoy that as well. Make sure the Saturday games go on TNT. ESPN. We'll give you those games as NFL is going on. We'll put those games on TNT. But thank you all for listening. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys Sunday night.